Hello, fellow Fumblers, and welcome to another episode of the Film Fumblers podcast. Today, we are going to be reviewing the Royal Tenenbaums, directed by Wes Anderson and released in 2001. Without further ado, I'm Adrian.
I'm Jay.
I'm Taryn.
Yo, what's up? It's James.
All right, and we're shooting, right? What you guys got?
Tito's the last of it.
Last of it. Tito's all around. Well, vodka all around. Gin again. Cheers, guys.
Gin.
Yes.
Gin again. Always gin.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. That's the stuff.
Is it though? Is it the
I don't know
stuff?
about that one.
I don't know. I like gin. Drinking it straight is kind of hard. Or, well,
Kind of hard.
I don't know. It's
Pretty damn hard.
I hate vodka, too, so it's like...
Vodka's not great either. It's true.
What you got there, Jay?
been-
What's that orange looking stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, vodka's terrible. I just have a vodka orange juice.
Nice.
A little screwdriver.
Okay.
Oh, dude, you know what? I was really looking forward to... Well, if Straight Outta Compton won our gauntlet, if I was going to have a gin and juice, and that would have been so much. I mean, even though it's Snoop, but... Anyway, yeah, I'm drinking a gin and tonic on the side. Well, it's a gin and soda, but... What about you guys? What do you got?
Got some more of these, baby. BL Celts.
The BL Celts.
BL Celts. Look at the headband.
The finest brewed
Ooh.
in Holland. Heineken.
Nice.
Nice.
Getting some Heinies. Throwing them back.
Get your hands off my hiney, baby.
Yeah.
All right, so who has seen this movie before?
I don't think anyone.
First
None of us? Is this
Yeah.
this isn't the first time that's happened, is it? It might be.
Besides, like,
Mm,
In theaters movies, yeah, I think so.
oh, maybe.
You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Dr.
because
Sleep.
right,
We
because we
saw
did
it
it.
in theaters when it came out. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
none of us saw kids. And some other.
Oh, right.
Oh,
No,
that's
very
true.
true.
That is true. Yeah. Well, this is my first Wes Anderson film entirely, so I had no
Really?
idea. I didn't know what this was. I didn't look at a trailer. I didn't read about what it was about. When I was actually loading it up, I was like, "Huh, Ben Stiller." Like I just like
Yeah.
I didn't know who was in it, and I was just like, "All right, let's jump in." So this was really interesting to watch, to not know anything about Wes
First
Anderson.
Wes
or about-
Anderson?
yeah,
Really?
ever.
Okay. That's exciting.
You've never even
Yeah.
seen Fantastic Fox. Fantastic. What is it, Mr.
Nope.
Mr. Fox.
Mr. Fox.
No.
Okay.
I've looked. I haven't seen any of them. So
Huh.
What
Wow.
about you guys? You guys. Or Jane James.
Seen
You've
a
seen
lot
other
of
ones,
them.
right? Or how many, I guess?
I've seen Isle of Dogs, another one, and Grand
Budapest
Budapest.
Hotel?
Yeah.
yeah.
I've seen Fox, Budapest, Moonrise Kingdom. Maybe that's it.
I'm
Okay.
actually the same as Jay.
Yeah, see, because I've like heard so much about, and like we've actually brought up Wes Anderson a lot in previous episodes. Like, I think we talked about him in our episode on The Godfather, about just like the very symmetrical shots that were in that like felt kind
Oh,
of,
and he's like
you know,
related in some way, right?
right, and there was like
Yeah.
some weird,
A weird connection.
Yeah.
connection.
Did you
Um,
get that from this movie a little bit?
I don't know. I was
Did
like, you know
link
what?
it back to that?
You know what? And it's funny because at certain times it felt like I was looking like really hard for like, okay, where's the symmetry at? And I
Oh, yeah.
saw like a couple of them, but I was like, is it just because I'm looking for it? Like, is it, was this like a big movie that had it, or is it just all
I
of
didn't
Wes
really.
His
feel-
thing, I think, is not symmetry. It's breaking the rule of three and stuff like that. It's about like putting things dead center in the shot.
Okay.
But it's interesting that we're like 10 minutes into this thing and we're already talking about Wes Anderson and his like entire group of movies. Like, it's kind of interesting. Like, we're already going there. Like, there's those directors like, I don't know, Tarantino, or I don't know who else off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but like we're like immediately like going into his like entire style and
His
this and
arsenal
that. Like,
of films.
Right.
Yeah.
there's only I don't know, there's few directors that you know, they bring that up every time, you know, no matter what movie it is,
Right.
you have to mention their style and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But-
man. Wes
Well,
Anderson has such a unique style. Like, you could just feel it. Like, you're like, all right, this is definitely a Wes Anderson movie. Just the colors and, like, you're saying, like, the way the
Yeah.
shots are set up.
yeah.
I
awesome.
feel like it's so whimsical. Every time I watch a Wes
Mm.
Anderson movie, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it's just this weird feeling where you know it's like a fairy tale-esque type of story. but
Circusy.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Like
there's all
it's-
kinds of words. It's
Well, it's-
weird. It's like,
Right. And it's interesting because like I knew, you know, just of what we've said about Wes Anderson, that like it's, you know, he has his own particular style. So when I think of a director that has a very specific style and it's like very artsy, I'm just like, okay, like artsy in my head equaled like seriousness. So we're gonna jump into like a serious film. And this movie just was not that at all. Like it's
Yeah.
just not, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And like at first I was like expecting it to, so it took me a minute to like be like, no, let me just have fun, right? Like let's just have
Yeah.
fun watching this. So
Yeah.
once I kind of did that, I was like, I actually am really enjoying this, you know.
Yeah.
I think his movies do a great job of that balance of like, it's like sly comedy, right? They don't take it too seriously, but they don't try to push that piece
Right.
with like a dramatic thing, like a dramatic event happening with, you know, serious quote unquote situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of his movies follow that kind of paradigm, and with the style and just the kind of mannerisms of the characters. That's one thing I've noticed is a lot of his characters are similar, like not necessarily in background, but in their delivery and how, you know, they function as people. But but that could be a product of like a lot of these actors follow him to other projects,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
so they're in a lot of the same movies.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think Owen Wilson is in like all the ones I've seen or some shit. Like
Oh,
Yeah.
Bill Murray too.
Well, I didn't realize it. So Owen Wilson wrote this with Wes
Wes
Anderson, right?
Anderson,
They both
yeah.
wrote it.
Yeah, that was cool.
So that was
Yeah.
interesting.
He's written, I think, another one with him as well, maybe two other
Huh.
ones.
Mhm.
That's interesting. I didn't really know that about Owen Wilson. Like, I mean, the writing in this movie was good. So,
Yeah, I just think of the like a meme, like wow.
Wow. Yeah. I was waiting for him to say it in this, and I think there's like a tweet that he like tweeted. He's like, I don't even say wow that much, or something. And it's like probably true, but when he does, you just know it's Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I want to jump into the comedy right away, and it has to do a lot with just the way the movie was written. Other comedies that we've watched, and I've brought this up before, where, for example, in our episode about Forgetting Sarah Marshall, a lot of times it felt like the jokes were like the writers are writing jokes, right? And like in this film, I feel like the characters don't know that they're funny. And I've talked about that. Like a cute kid he's cute because he doesn't know that he's cute. And these characters, I think, are funny because they don't know that they're being funny, right? They're just living their lives, and their lives are so ridiculous
Yeah.
that it's hilarious how they, you know, they're so like grandiose and so, you know, what's the word for it, where you're like really rich and
Extravagant.
yeah, you know, and like just
Pompous.
their problems are just so hilarious, and they don't. And that's what really landed for me, is like I thought this movie was hilarious. Like
Yeah.
the comedy really landed.
Hmm.
So I don't know, it was fun.
Yeah. If you like that, then you'll probably like all of his movies.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
like, I feel good about saying that, you know.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably would like some of the other movies, but for some reason, for me, I feel like it was a little too much. Like most of the characters are just like, I feel like they say like a ton of things, and they're like spitballing like a ton of like quirky shit, right? And I felt like it was like kind of overpowering in a lot of the scenes for me. But
Yeah, maybe like Ben Stiller's character, he's really big on
yeah,
that.
and like
where
how
he's
you
just so
said,
ridiculous.
like how you said, you know, their problems are like really extravagant problems or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that was
Affluence
what
is the word I was looking
yeah,
for.
that was like one of the things that like just didn't land for me either. Like I'm just like I can't, I
Yeah.
can't relate. And like I know like it's not a movie that's supposed to like make you relate to them. You know,
Right.
they're like above. All the characters are like larger than life, right? So like
They're prodigies. all of
the
them.
no one's gonna be able to relate to these first world problems, you know. I mean, unless you're super rich. So
Right.
like I had a hard time just like having sympathy for them, and like kind of like was having a hard time really giving a shit about like what was going on.
I
But
think for me that was like part of the joke.
yeah,
You know, like,
yeah. And it's
so it was just
very
like,
it's
look at how.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like very well, everyone suffers too, but
Right.
we suffer differently, you know. Like
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like the way Wes Anderson writes dialogue and like has a style and stuff. Like it just feels like his world building like is so weird. Like it just feels like it's not totally real, like our reality, but it's like very slightly off of what ours is. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like super real. I don't know.
Exactly, dude.
Kind of fun about it.
That's what I was saying about the fairy tale thing. Like it
Like
doesn't feel,
whimsical.
yeah, like it's similar but different. I don't know. I guess that part never came into my mind, even though I totally understand what you're saying now that you say it.
is it like the feeling of like you would never ever meet somebody so like
Crazy, as that.
like
Yeah.
eccentric and
Yeah.
quirky like that, and that's like the thing that's like rubs me weird. Like I'm just like, no, I don't want everything to be realistic, but I'm just like, there's so many lines. I'm just like, who the fuck could even like think of that? Like on the top of
No
their
one
head. Like
talks
it's
like
just
this.
like no one talks like this, and like I get that's his style, but like,
Mhm.
which is weird for me because I don't want to. I'm kind of scared to go back to Grand Budapest Hotel, but there was a point in my life where I thought that was one of my favorite movies ever, and I haven't watched it in a few years, and I wonder if I go back and watch it now if it's gonna fucking annoy me. Like honestly,
Damn.
and that's
I'd be
how
down
that's
for that.
honestly just how I feel like
I
with
remember
with all the interactions. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now.
I remember you, and it's not like this is something that we do on the regular. Like I don't think any of us participate in social media that much.
Uh-huh.
But like you specifically did like, here's 10 days of my favorite movies. And
I
that was
never,
one of them.
I never finished those 10 days, by the way, because fucking
Whoa.
those social media challenges are fucking annoying too.
Right.
But that was one of them. So you took the time to put it out there.
Yes, and I am scared to revisit it after watching this one.
Yeah.
I don't
oh
know.
man.
I don't know.
Well, we need to do like maybe a little YouTube short on what your list was. Then.
Yeah,
And find
but
out
this was
how it-
actually
how it
only a
affects
few
you.
years ago. So like, and I just
Yeah.
hadn't seen it in a while, and I hadn't really dived into Wes Anderson's the catalog or anything. So I'm wondering if like he just has a few that I vibe with, and then some other ones are just kind of
Yeah.
stylistic over substance. Does
Right.
this make sense?
I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat as you, but not like as much. Like
Yeah,
I like this
you're
movie
not.
more. It seems like more than you did, but like
Uh-huh.
Grand Budapest, I liked a lot.
Yeah.
And then like this movie, Moonrise Kingdom, are like kind of like lower. Like they're just weird and different. But like I remember
Mhm.
Grand Budapest being like way up there compared to the rest of them.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not just you.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's probably his best movie that I've seen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I agree that like this one, it's not my favorite Wes Anderson for sure. And but I still really liked it. Like I don't know, this is like a weird,
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm getting into a review already, but it's like a hard balance. But it doesn't mean that I don't like his stuff, you know. It doesn't mean I didn't like this
Right.
movie, but
Yeah.
it did feel a little different. And maybe I'm thinking that James, you're talking about the problem of them being so rich and stuff. I think it like might stem from the fact that there are so many characters. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of like big names. I mean, big names now. I don't know how
Mhm.
big they. I mean, not most of them are still
Eh,
pretty big.
19 years ago. I mean, I think those are all pretty established actors. at the
19
time,
years. Holy shit.
It's a long
Yeah,
time.
that sounds weird, right?
2001. What
Jeez.
There are people who are adults that came out that were
Yeah.
born before this movie,
Wow.
or after this movie, rather.
But at the
Um,
same time, I didn't try to, I just tried to take it for what it was, and Watch it as a novel, because that's kind of how it opens up, as like a story.
Right.
Yeah, which
I
is
love that
fictitious, like
shit.
it's a novel that doesn't exist that they're
Right.
like basing the movie off
Mhm.
of. Which I think I'm in this weird position because I have no Wes Anderson to compare this to.
yeah.
So like this is really an interesting like movie for me.
But that might be the wrong thing for us to do, right? Like we shouldn't be
right.
And that's what I said in the beginning. Like when you get into this space with a director such as this guy, you know, like you get stuck talking about the collection of work. It's hard.
Right.
It's hard not to talk about it.
Rather than the individual piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, to touch on the whole whimsical aspect of it, James, that you said like a lot of the writing and stuff was unbelievable. And you did mention, but I feel like all of it is so intentional, up to even the cinematography of. So the movie was filmed in New York, but they really worked hard to make it not look like New York. Like they covered certain street signs and changed them. They like didn't want to base it in reality, even as far as like what was in the shots. There was even a scene where the Statue of Liberty was in the background, and like they had somebody like covering, like it was somebody standing there to like so you couldn't see it. Like they were trying to take you out of reality, even in the shots that they were doing.
They
So like
succeeded with me, man.
very
Shit.
intentional.
I read that there was over like 200 and some sets.
250, yeah, over.
Oh my god.
Well,
That's a lot.
That's
Like,
insane.
I don't know how many like there are in an average film, but I saw that and I was like, 250 sounds like a big number, and it's enough for them to mention it in this article. So,
For sure.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The other thing I've noticed about a lot of Wes Anderson movies in terms of like cinematography is that he does a lot of inserts, right? Where you'll focus in on one thing really closely. And I think it's really interesting because like he uses that a lot of ways. Like there's a common, like, I don't know what the word would be, philosophy, I guess, in writing that's like show, don't tell. And he does this
right.
really well here. Like, I think the first one is the library book, you know, the stamp and then the turn, and then it kind of goes back into the story. There's another
Right.
one where I think the Chaz, is his name Chaz, Ben Stiller's character?
Yeah, yeah. Or,
When he was
yeah.
younger. He is like, I need a check for, or I need $187 or whatever. And she's like, write yourself a check. And he like already had, you know, and like
Yeah.
check.
yeah.
That kind of stuff I think is really cool. And it doesn't take much, right? It's like
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
still of something, but it just adds so much, I don't know, detail. That's not just like,
context for their characters.
Yeah.
exactly. It's not just like she wrote a check and you witnessed her write the check. It's like, here's a shot of the check. Okay.
Yeah.
moving
And he does that stuff kind of well, right? Like just like the attention to detail, like I think somebody described it as like beautiful clutter, like most of his shots like like with the record player or something, like you just see like some other shit sprawled out everywhere and it just looks like it could be like somebody's room or something. Like it just looks
Yeah.
real, but it's also weirdly meticulous. Like it's also you kind of like this is
It's
kind of fucking
real
weird. I don't know. Yeah. Which is interesting, and all those things are like obviously like amazing to look at.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There's a lot of eye candy in all these movies, for sure.
Yeah, I
It's
noticed.
going to be hard for me to not talk about that a lot because I love that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this movie, there's a lot of name tags, which I thought was kind of funny.
Hmm.
Like just in general, places like the kid on his hat said his name. What was it? Like the weird kid or whatever.
Oh, Dudley.
They're doing experiments. Yeah, I was like,
Dudley,
what the fuck?
yeah.
Like it's just weird shit like that. But you're like, oh, I can remember his name now because there's so many goddamn characters.
Was
Yeah.
Dudley Bill Murray's like son? Is that
No,
what
he was
the-
like a
he was
patient.
just like his subject that just was lived with him.
Yeah, that shit was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was all the time he was with this family. It was kind of weird.
Even at the
Even
funeral
when-
and shit, I'm like,
Yeah,
why is Bill Murray
exactly.
even here at all?
Yeah, that's the guy who played that character was in Freaks and Geeks. If you guys have watched that,
I have not.
it's Judd Apatow's show where Seth Rogen, James Franco, a lot of these guys, Jason Segel.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, it's worth checking out.
So I want to take it back a little bit to the kind of like beginning scenes where we're like discovering all of the characters. For me, this was when I was still like, okay, like trying to understand like Wes Anderson as a director and like as a writer and like what's going on. I felt like a lot of the scenes with introducing all of the kids, they're giving and Alec Baldwin, of course, as the narrator, introducing all of these characters. I was like, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to follow all of this. Like I don't. But so that was like maybe a little rush for me. I don't know. Maybe it was like the first view. Just there was just so much that they had to explain because it's such a stacked cast. Like there's so many fucking important characters in this. But as the movie went on, I felt like that kind of dissipated, and I was just like, okay, like I know who the characters are, you know. So I don't know. How did you guys feel about just like the beginning, like your first watch? Well, this was all of our first watch. Were you confused at all, or was it relatively easy to follow?
I thought it was going to be like you were saying. I was like, oh my god, this is a lot of shit. Like I didn't know those kids were gonna be like the actual actors that I knew were gonna be in it. So that was also confusing. I was like, oh Jesus Christ. So like you said, after a while I was like, oh okay, I get it. Like I get who's who and like their backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah, for like even if for a second I thought Owen Wilson, when he was an adult, I was just like, wait, is he one of the kids too? But he's their neighbor kind of thing.
Yeah, that
like that
took me a while to figure out.
Yeah, because when he starts hitting on Margot, I was like, what? Both two of her brothers are in love with her? Like what the? But which is a whole nother thing to dive into, the whole incest kind of thing, but not really like the stepbrother kind of.
Yeah.
Well, to touch one more bit on the character thing, like I think one thing that was done really well in this movie was that the characters were so defined by their appearance. So like you didn't really even have to know names. Like you could just see what was happening to who was wearing what at the time, because they basically wear the same thing
throughout the entire film. Yeah. Every character, and most notably Ben Stiller, right, and Arian Uzi. But like every other character is also wearing a very similar, attire the entire film.
Ben Stiller changing into the black tracksuits during the funeral.
Dude, the tracksuit, man, it's so good. Like, why is that so good? And why is he? It's so funny. It almost like brings you to like the Ben Stiller in Dodgeball, where he's just like. He's just like this crazy fucking like into it guy, so into everything. But by the way, Ari and Uzi, I've loved their characters. Like they were just so fun to on screen. Like it was just like how obedient they are to their dad, and like I don't know.
I mean, like
they play along with the grandpa and stuff.
The way they interact with Royal, like that's like one of the most endearing things when he takes him to go. they go to the dog fights, and he's all, oh no, that's dog blood. Like
I think that was my favorite scene in the whole film, is just like seeing Royal, like because Royal's just like this shit. He's not only a shit dad, he's kind of just a shit person. Like he's just not really a good person, so it's like hard to like him as a character. But the way they shot this film, where you were just like, yeah, he's an asshole, but like he's still a person, and like he still does genuinely care to have a relationship with his grandchildren, and like show them a completely different aspect of life that they've never seen before. Like, let's just be assholes. Let's steal. Let's go to dog fights. Let's hitch rides off of dump trucks. It was like it was so fun to watch.
Yeah, Royal. He might be my favorite character.
Oh,
this whole movie.
Yeah,
Royal.
Yeah, I liked him a lot, even though he was a shit.
Exactly.
Which is so funny because like there's a lot of movies that we've seen where you don't like the characters, but this, like, you're not supposed to like Royal, but you still do. Like they do a good job at balancing the human aspect of who he is.
Yeah, and like you said, it goes deep real quick. Like it's this guy who's trying to like reconcile with his family after like not being around when they're growing up, trying to meet grandkids that he's never met. That's like a deep thing,
Yeah.
For a movie that's supposed to be whimsical or comedic, it's definitely touches on a few of those in this one movie. There's a lot of themes that are like really deep.
Yeah.
The incest thing, right? It's just a weird situation. I mean, for context, there's Margot, who's the adopted sister of Chad and Richie, and then Richie is, later on in life, or maybe always, I guess, was in love with Margot.
I think always, because even when he was painting, he always painted Margot.
Yeah.
So it was like always there.
But she was adopted, so they weren't blood. So it's like
Oh yeah, it's this weird gray area. Can you call it that? I don't know.
Not
know.
not
And they,
exactly wincest yet, but
right, like, and to be fair, like they address that in the movie where like Royal's like, well, you're right. I guess she's not blood. Like, dad
Yeah.
just like they
Yeah.
raised. He adopted her when she was what 2 years old, right? Like, that's your sister, you know. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not like they were like 19, you know. So it's just funny how they brought that up.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, to touch on like the deeper issues that it dives into, even though it's a silly movie, it was like, and again they did it like kind of jokingly, but the one of the opening scenes where you have Royal sitting across the table, across his three kids, and then he's talking about like your mother and I aren't going to be seeing each other anymore. We're getting a divorce, and like of course it's the most stereotypical questions that you would have as children getting a divorce. But it's like real still, you know, like, is it our fault? Like, there's just all of these questions that it brings up that, you know, anyone that has been through their parents getting a divorce, like that kind of, it's funny, but it just still hits you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting kickoff, right? That's basically the first
Right.
scene.
I think it is, yeah.
Which was, yeah, you know, it hits different spots for different people, I'm sure. But
Right, yeah.
yeah, right away you're just like, okay, there's a gut punch potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
But I really loved like the kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, but like montagey. There's a lot of montagey things in this movie.
Yeah.
But their childhood was really cool. Like they did a lot. They showed you a lot of things in a quick amount of time that came back later on too. You know, like a lot of that stuff became connected, and you got to see like their backgrounds as like these prodigy geniuses or whatever. You know, each one excelled at, and
The rise and fall, like the real hard fall.
and then it just crumbles into failure, and you kick it off really when the turning point of the movie hits. They're all adults, and that's where it kind of starts moving, you know.
Yeah. Which brings like another like very deep theme about like childhood success, right? Like children being very successful and then growing up to being lost and like running into all of these problems, you know, which happens so much. But and this movie, you know, shed a lot of light on that, but they did it in like a very comedic way where it was just like, look at how hilarious their lives are now, like, as you know, from when they were so successful as children.
Yeah.
So what did they have? There was a tennis star, a businessman at the age of 14, right? And then Margot was what, an author, an artist, or a playwright, yeah. Like,
Which is
so esteemed. Like,
Yeah.
And then like Royal, he like shits on her play. He's like, I don't know. It's kind of he kind of is reminding me of how I feel about this whole movie. He's like, I don't know, not exactly realistic, is it? And I feel like Wes Anderson put that shit in there to kind of fuck with people like me that say, hey, this movie's not exactly realistic either. And then Chaz goes, oh, is there just not enough character progression? And I'm just like, I'm like, maybe even Wes Anderson is kind of not sure about this movie.
Oh my gosh.
Puts a little Easter egg in there.
That's hilarious.
Probably intentional. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, the montages are hilarious. Like the Margot montage is hilarious. All her boyfriends and girlfriends and smoking and husbands and
All over the
husbands.
world, dude.
yeah, it's really funny.
When they shot that, when they had the private investigator spying on Margot, and because who hired him? Raleigh, Bill Murray's character, and Luke Wilson's character, they hired him. When they like open the folder, like the private investigator's like, okay, you guys want to see this? And he slides the folder over and they open it. And like it goes into one of those montages. And like for a second, I forgot they were like that in reality we were in the office with the PI. I was just like, holy shit, like this takes you on this giant journey about Margot's character, and it was just like, what is even happening? Holy fuck. Like
dude,
What a wild life.
anime montage, man. And they even had like some cool ass music in the background. You got to see all the action in like a minute. Pretty cool, actually. But you know what? Okay,
fun.
so we're good. Let's talk about Bill Murray's character. I felt like I wanted more from him. I was expecting like something. I don't know. I was expecting like way more lines from him, like just more jokes, just more of a main focus. But I guess he was just kind of a little bit of a backthought. What did you guys think about him?
Yeah, well, it was weird that like it was weird to see Bill Murray play a character that's just like on the back foot, that's just like not, because a lot of the movies that we know him from, like Groundhog Day and Ghostbusters, he's just kind of smooth, like in not in a smooth sense where he's like James Bond, but like he's witty, right? And in this movie, he's just like a beta.
He,
like
he literally says, "You've made a cuck out of me" to her.
Yes.
He says
He's
that.
a
I'm like,
cuck.
oh my god, okay.
He's a cuck, like when we first meet him, Margot she's in the bathtub and he's just like, dearest, would it be okay if I make you dinner? Like, just like, what? Who is this guy? It's weird seeing Bill Murray playing a role like that.
Oh, and then another thing that fucking bothers me. So they go through the whole montage and then he's like, she smokes, and like I'm like how?
That was funny.
I'm like, how the fuck? Like if you know anyone who smokes, even if they put the most perfume on, they fucking smoke. Like I'm just like, who doesn't know?
I think that touched kind of on just his willful ignorance about her.
Yeah. Okay.
Where he was just like didn't because he knows that she's not in love with him. Like
yeah.
Right.
So it was just like him just pretending that everything's okay.
I like also her like trying to hide like everything about her, which was, I don't know, kind of funny, weird character trait, because even her mom is like, "How long have you been smoking?" or whatever at the end. Like she didn't know either.
22 years or whatever.
But I think everyone shares that character trait. Everyone's like super isolated in this movie, like on their own like little depression aisles, like, right? Like Margot's like probably got deep seated like daddy issues because her dad fucking literally calls her the stepchild every time. Chaz has the dead wife, and
Richie's just fucking swimming or on a boat just by himself.
Richie's literally on his own island. Like he's everyone's like it's just like kind of it's interesting to see like each of them as like their different like feelings. Like I think like maybe
they're coping with all that.
Yeah, like
Chaz was talking about like their childhood success or whatever.
Yeah. Like Chaz is like kind of like anxiety and like anger, and I don't know. It's like it's just kind of interesting to see that though. But anyways, Jay, I think you had something you wanted to add to that.
Well, the smoking lines, the best fucking line in there was when the mom is like, "How long have you been smoking?" She's like, 22 years. And the mom just says, "You should quit." But no, so there's another thing there, interesting thing. So the cigarettes that she smoked were only made in like Ireland or something.
In the 1970s.
They stopped it in the 1970s. So they were like very specific.
Really?
It was supposed to be on purpose, like just to add more strangeness and unknown like background to her character. But why? The thing that I was gonna say about Bill Murray, and I don't know, they're just weird for the sake of being weird.
So quirky, so quirky and weird.
Exactly. Right. The thing I was gonna say about Bill Murray, and I'm trying not to talk about other Wes Anderson movies so much, but in the three that I've seen, like the characters he plays they're very much not like forefront characters.
Oh, really?
Which is really interesting because he's much bigger, than these movies, right? Like he's done a lot. So it's weird to see him in the background, but I think he likes to do these kind of weirder movies. And
there's a couple that he's the main character though, right?
I don't know the ones that I've seen.
I know the Life Aquatic for sure.
Okay.
Because he's like the main character.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I want to say about his character in this movie. It just felt like, oh, I gotta have you in all my movies. Here's like this small role or something. That's kind of how it felt.
Here's
Yeah,
here's like $100,000. Not too much money. Just like here's just show up,
Well,
right?
it's interesting because like like even on set and like outside of like the actual film, Bill Murray and Wes Anderson are just complete homies. Like, and I was reading this thing where apparently Gene Hackman is not easy to work with, and he was kind of nearing his retirement in acting. And so like when he took this role, like people knew that he was really hard to work with, and Gene Hackman and Wes Anderson did not get along. Like Wes Anderson, or excuse me, Gene Hackman like really ripped a new one for Wes Anderson a lot, and it was even written that Bill Murray like would stay on set and like would be there on his days off to like try to defend Wes Anderson and like make it so
a moderator between them or some
yeah,
shit.
just to kind of like make it so Gene Hackman wasn't such a bully, you know,
Yeah.
which is interesting. And it makes sense to like, I don't know, it's like almost fitting for his character in this, where it's just like they're friends, you know, and like he just, I don't know, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, so I actually
interesting.
listened to Apple Podcasts of Wes Anderson talking about the movie on its 10th anniversary, and he admitted that he was fucking terrified of Hackman. Like Hackman, like really, Hackman specifically said, "I hate," because okay, so Wes Anderson actually wrote this part for him. And Hackman said, "I hate when people write movies for me. Like, I don't want to be like typecasted or anything like that. I just want to get roles and then they become me." You know what I mean? Kind of thing is what he said.
That makes sense.
And so he was super intimidated, and he avoided Wes Anderson for I think a few years. Like Wes Anderson kept like trying to get after him, like, "Hey, come meet with me. Come, let's work on this movie together. Let's do this and that." And I don't remember exactly when he finally caved, but apparently like he just kind of didn't want to do all the background stuff with the movie. He's like was only interested in action and stop. You know what I mean? Like he didn't care about like the like practicing, what do you call them, the rehearsals or anything like that. Like he just only wanted to do like his part and that's it. Like it was interesting.
Yeah.
And Wes Anderson, like he had no hard feelings about it actually, which is interesting.
Yeah. I heard the same from Angelica Houston, where both of them, both Gene Hackman and Angelica Houston, had like turned down the role until they kind of changed the script to have more development for those characters.
Oh, really?
And what I also saw that was interesting was that Gene Wilder was also, I don't know if considered is the right word, but was like they wanted Gene Wilder for the role of Royal.
Oh, really?
So like
that would have been crazy. Damn.
Yeah, how weird would that have? But Gene Wilder had like already been retired at the time, and but God, that would have been really weird. That would like change the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. That I mean, I would guess that there's no hard feelings because I thought he did a pretty good job still. Like even
dude.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
really loved the stuff that he did and his acting and the character and all of that. But it's interesting. Another hard to work with actor like Marlon Brando, huh?
Right. And I don't know that I feel like the more we dive into film and actually read articles and stuff, I feel like actors are probably not the easiest people to work with, right? Like even the most
feels like more older, like more traditional ones. I feel like it becomes more common, but like newer ones, like, they're just riffing and like trying to work out shit. It feels like.
Well, and I think maybe part of that has to do with the product of the time, right? Like the older actors and stuff. Like, what was the consequence to being an asshole? Like nothing really. Like there wasn't Twitter. There wasn't there wasn't these socials that like people could actually interact with you and care about you in that way. So now all of the actors now, like now all the actors now, like they have this social media presence, and like that's a big part of their careers for people to genuinely like them. And so they have to be nice, right? Like these older actors are just like, we didn't have fucking Twitter. Fuck this. If I don't like this,
they're the biggest stars on the fucking planet.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah.
Yeah, it really has. And I think, And it's even for like we haven't gotten into too many films with like huge villainous characters, but I wonder how that works too, because there are certain characters that you see in a movie or a show where they're like such a good villain, and you're like, fuck that guy, or fuck that, and it's just like I wonder how that works with like their social media presence, where it's just like I'm actually a nice person.
That's like
You know?
that. That's like that kid who played Joffrey, right, in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He like got like, I don't know if he got death threats or anything like that, but like people fucking ragged on him for years, years and years.
Yeah,
That's
that's how
crazy.
Getty did.
Interesting.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
that
and it's a testament to how good of an actor they are, right? It's like you hated me, I did my job, but it doesn't feel that way necessarily. So we haven't talked a lot about Owen Wilson's character, Eli Cash. One of the more like eccentric, interesting characters. What is he known for? He's like
doing Western movies, right? He's a Western movie.
So he's an actor?
Actor or books?
Okay.
Does he do books? I
think
thought he was
he
an actor.
books,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
because he like
confused.
yeah, and like just seeing his character and like the carelessness that he has and just how I love how like casual he is about things. Like there's this scene where he's with Luke Wilson, and he's just like he's talking to him and he's saying something. He's like, "Yeah, well, I just took like some mescaline earlier," like
Yeah, he's a
and Richie's just like, "Wait, you just took mescaline?" And he's like, "Yeah, like no big deal. It's just like this crazy hallucinogenic drug." And it's just like his life, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I thought his character it didn't really dive as deep into like the failure part from what I felt, like what drove him down the path of failure with the rest of them.
mescaline.
Is it just a drug problem, I guess?
I mean, eventually he's just like, I need to get help, right? Well, doesn't he?
Right.
Okay, he's like,
Nah,
okay,
he
I'm
runs
gonna
away.
get help, and then he jumps out the window and runs away, right?
Yeah, he's like, "Let me just grab my things," and he just
Yeah.
books
Just
it,
like,
grabs a
there he
gypsy
goes.
cab.
I don't know. For some reason, like his character just didn't do it for me either. Like he was like on par with Bill Murray's character. Like I was just like, these characters are just strangely like put in the middle of the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess Owen Wilson's character needed to be there to like push the like I mean,
Romance?
Luke Wilson's character arc,
push
yeah.
no, it's like to push the what would you call that, the conflict, which is basically Margot and Luke's love.
Right.
I feel like is like the main conflict, like that's like the big,
Yeah.
not the, I mean the big reveal is like
It's
him
one of
trying to
them.
kill himself, right? Like
Right.
and so like that Luke, or no, Owen and Margot's love kind of pushes that after the whole little montage thing, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, and also, I don't know. I feel like, Owen Wilson, like he was always outside of the family, and he wanted to be in so bad. Like that, I feel like that's where a lot of his negative like future came from. I guess. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, now that you say it.
Yeah, because he's in interviews and was like, "Well, I was very close with the Tenenbaum family," and like he kind of he's trying to include himself, very obviously throughout the film.
Yeah.
Like even down to like the littlest line, like the littlest things, like he's like sending like report
The
cards
mom.
to the mom, like little
Yeah.
snippets from his new magazines, movies, this and that, or
Right.
whatever the hell he's involved in.
Yeah.
Like just a weird obsession with the family. Like so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they didn't really touch at all on Eli Cash's family, like his actual family.
Yeah.
He was just the neighbor. He lived across the street. Like, I wonder, was there like just a lot of dysfunction there? And like, of course there was enough storytelling to be had in this film that we didn't need to jump into that. But yeah, like maybe he just had family issues that he just was looking for acceptance into like what he thought was maybe a normal family, which he was very wrong, because this is not a normal family at all.
Yeah, I guess I see that. Even Danny Glover's character, what was his name?
Henry Sherman.
Sherman. Yeah.
Yeah.
He they kind of are like, oh, he was married before, by the way. and like also
Right.
had a son, and also his wife died. Like there's all these things that kind of come up that for Owen Wilson's character, I agree. That was never there. It was just like he does drugs and he writes westerns.
Which was strange because, like, I mean, he wrote the fucking movie. Maybe he just didn't. I don't know. He just wanted to be in there. Was he one of the antagonists? Like, I mean, he was there to just kind of agitate the family a little bit, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like weirdly, I feel like the main antagonist is like almost Chaz, Ben Stiller's character.
Really? I mean, it's definitely Royal, right?
I thought you were gonna say Royal. Yeah.
Like Royal is like not true evil, but he's just chaotic. He's just, I don't know. He's just
like Royal for sure. But like Chaz, I feel like Chaz is just he's there to really question the status quo of like we can't just let our father back into our life. Like fuck this guy. Like fuck all of this. And he's even an asshole to his own brother, which Luke Wilson, but also like the character Richie, where like one of my favorite, like I think one of the best jokes in the whole film is right after Richie attempts suicide. They're in the hospital and they're talking to him, and Richie's like, "Yeah, I wrote a suicide note after I regained consciousness," which is hilarious on its own. Dude, and then Ben Stiller's just like, "Well, could you read it? Well, like, was it dark?" And he's like, "Well, it's a suicide note." He's like, "Could you paraphrase it?" Like, how fucking like,
oh man,
I love that. Like, it's just it's just Ben Stiller's just fucking an asshole.
Like, but you know what's funny is like he's most like his dad. They're both fucking like really chaotic. Like I feel like Richie's very much like his mom. Like where he's kind of removed from the whole thing. Like he's kind of just like, okay, we're just gonna let it happen. And Margot's never really felt like she was like part of the family anyway. So she has no say, right? Whether or not like Royal is brought back with open arms to the family, So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I feel like there's not really. I mean, I wouldn't even say a protagonist, but like a good guy, quote unquote, would be like the mom and Sherman.
Pagoda, maybe.
But he stabbed Roy, right?
Like, but he carried him and saved his life.
But that's the difficulty, right? Is he did a bad thing, but you like him.
Yeah.
Which is basically all the characters, except for like Sherman and what's the mom's name in this?
It's Ethelyn.
Ethelyn.
But
there was Pagoda, man.
Pagoda, God. And apparently he's in like all of Wes Anderson. I just saw something about that. Like he's in
really?
Apparently, I want to say it. I think he was my favorite character. Like he's so fucking funny. He's so good.
Who's that?
Just his. It almost feels like
Pagoda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pagoda. Like it almost feels like they just like found some guy on the set and they're just like, can you just say a couple of lines, like just really short lines.
Okay,
and like he's like,
him, dude.
Yeah, I guess like
yeah. So there's a YouTube video called Every Blank Ever, and so there's an every Wes Anderson movie ever, and apparently Wes Anderson likes to make the main role some asshole white guy, and he has a minority sidekick. Yeah, which is exactly in Grand Budapest Hotel, right? Like I'm just like, holy shit! I haven't seen enough movies to see if that's right, but I thought of that like immediately when I saw him. I was like, okay, there's the minority, like with the fucking main asshole.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of a formula to his stuff.
Yeah, and like the interesting like the casual racism, like he's like, yeah, I could talk jive, like, and he calls Danny Glover Coltrane. Yeah, and it's just like,
yes,
and
it's, did you call me Coltrane?
He's just all what?
But if I did call you Coltrane, what are you gonna do about it? And I was just like, oh shit. But I loved how Danny Glover was just like, no, we're fucking like, you want to fucking do this? We're gonna do this. And I was just like, let's fucking do this. Like I was so excited.
Yeah, I think it strengthened his character for sure. Like that's why I put him in the good guy category. Like he stood his ground, but he had his respect,
But he's also kind of bit of a beta male too, right? Like similar to Raleigh or to Bill Murray's character, where he's klutzy and he's just like, oh, like he's apologizing for everything. He's just like, I think maybe it would be better for tax purposes if you weren't married. And then in the
that
in the
shit was
next
adorable.
sentence,
Come on.
and the next sentence he's like, would you marry me? And it's just like she didn't even know he liked her, and then he falls in that hole for whatever reason, and then like I don't know, I'm just like
I
this
kind of
guy's really-
forgot about all
you
that
know?
part of the movie. Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's just so throwaway for me. I don't
And
know.
then he apologized. I'm sorry for proposing to you the other day. So he's like he like
He's
You
just
know,
so
he, like-
proper. I don't know. I
yeah.
don't think it's like a negative thing.
One of the funnier jokes for me was just like, "You knew I was a widower too," and he's just like, "Yeah, I knew that," because like he's been around the family with like, because Chaz says that to him. And he's just like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I've been around the family for like I don't know, like 10 years at that point, right?" That shit cracks
please
me
call
up.
me Henry. It's like he's been your accountant for 15 years. I'm gonna call him Mr. Sherman. Like
Yeah.
I know him as Mr. Sherman. But yeah.
I feel like we're just kind of like, and I don't know if it's like a good or bad thing towards the movie, but we're just kind of like talking about these characters and their development, which is really
Yeah.
what the movie's about, I guess.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's interesting. For me specifically, Sherman was a weird character to see Danny Glover play.
Yeah.
Like I never saw him as that kind of person.
Right.
But which is like kind of the same thing as Bill Murray. You know, maybe
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Bill Murray did the same thing for me.
they like it as the art and not necessarily, you know, to do what they normally do.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the suicide, right? Which is like a big thing.
Yeah.
We're
Big
talking
scene.
suicide.
Let's
I was
talk
like,
about it more.
damn, we're going there. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
You know, again, another crazy, deep, dark thing in this like whimsical world.
Did I hear it wrong? And he was like, "I'm gonna kill myself tomorrow," and then he proceeded to kill
No, yeah.
himself at the time, like right there
Yeah.
and there, right?
That
Okay.
was- that
Like,
was-
I
that's
was
what
like,
happened, yeah.
for some
That
reason,
was a-
I just didn't. I was like, wait.
I think
what?
that was a quote from like another work of art, like another movie or something. Jay,
Yeah,
you look
it's a
like you're-
line from like a French movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hmm.
He just
They,
wanted
so
to
he
do
kind of
that,
pulled
yeah.
it. He kind of pulled it from that, and it was like
There was a lot
almost-
of inspiration for this.
Yeah.
Like the fake novel is supposed to be in the style of J.D. Salinger. A lot of French movies, I think, came up in terms of influences and things like that.
Oh, really?
But the thing that I liked, you know, I talked a little bit about appearance earlier. And what was cool about this movie is like as the characters progressed, you know, when they would hit those kind of turning points, their appearances would all change, right?
Yeah.
Like
True.
Luke Wilson cuts his hair and shaves his beard. Even Roy like stops wearing suits, starts wearing the uniform for his job. Ben Stiller, it's a small one, but he goes from red to black, which is like more funny than anything. But yeah, it was really interesting. But the interesting thing, how I'm tying this all together, is that Luke Wilson's character Richie is always wearing those wristbands, right? The tennis ones. But then when he tries to kill himself, like he also has more wristbands, but he doesn't have the ones that he normally wears, right? He has like
Like the
bandages on his
bandages? Oh,
arms.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just thought that was
Interesting.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Shout out
guys-
Luke
Maybe it's
Wilson.
foreshadowing.
Homie looked quite handsome with the bald head there.
Which is so funny because he straight up looked like a tennis player with the long hair and the beard.
Yeah.
Like, he was just like, yeah,
Like
this is a
some
tennis player.
European.
I wonder, it looked like that was real hair, right? When he was cutting it?
Yeah,
I
for
wonder if he
sure.
did that.
Yeah,
feel like-
it did. I don't know.
I don't know.
Got one take for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you fuck up or start laughing, oh my god, could you imagine, Jay? Do you think you could do it without like cracking up or like be like, oh fuck, like
Me, if I was with the hair,
I'm just saying, like if you had to
Like,
cut your
shit,
hair
cut it
yourself, yeah.
I don't know, dude. That'd be really hard. I feel like, like they definitely went in and cleaned it up in between shots, right? But
Yeah.
when he's getting in there like so small, like with scissors, I was like, this dude's
Yeah.
gonna cut.
He
a
gets
ear
pretty
off.
bald, and then like the next scene, it's all nice and like shaved, and he looks all like
Yeah.
GQ
I
model.
saw that it was like a continuity error where he hadn't finished completely shaving or like his beard and his head before he had like attempted suicide, and then when he like wakes up in the hospital, he's like clean shaven and like, so it was like a little thing where, but it was like yeah, like you get it.
Right.
But that's not something that's like unfamiliar to film. Like there's so many shots in not only film but TV shows where they're like actually shaving their head, and I always think about that, like, man, they've got one take here, really. You know, like there's not a lot of cutting that can happen.
And that's like kind of cliche, right? Like that whole like ripping of the clothes and shaving of the hair. Like I was talking about that in Your Name, actually. Remember when she cuts her hair to kind of signify
just like
change?
Hey, audience, I'm going through a change right now.
yeah. It's kind of okay.
Yeah, it's like a big thing in like multiple cultures, specifically like Native American cultures. I know that like a lot of times Native Americans will have like really long hair, and after they're mourning a death or something, they'll cut off a lot of their hair. So it's just like a big theme in, you know,
life.
Yeah.
But in life. But I think to touch on, you know, to just kind of go back to like this movie bringing up bigger issues, but also like shedding light on it, like, you know, like divorce. Like divorce is tragic. Like it's a hard thing that children have to go through, but they make it funny. And like suicide, you know, like that's one of the darkest things that somebody could go through. But they shed light on it and they make it funny with, you know, Ben Stiller's character asking about if he can paraphrase the suicide note, right? Like, So what I liked about this was like it brought up these big issues, but it was just like, but let's also like shed light on them and like have the fun that we can with them.
Yeah.
So like it was fun to see, and I think they did it tastefully. It wasn't gross. It wasn't like really. It was enjoyable to watch, as weird as that sounds. Like
weirdest part for me, or the thing that I guess that stood out the most during that whole sequence, like he slits the wrists, you know, there's again the like, what did you say, James, earlier, the messy beautifulness, whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Beautiful
clutter
with the hair,
something like that. I can't remember exactly the word.
And then, you know, he does the deed, is bleeding all over the floor. Dudley comes in and sees him, right? And he motions a scream, but doesn't scream. And while this is where I love some of Wes Anderson's transitions, it goes from that to them in the hospital, like 6 people or so around the bed, running it down the hallway, right? Like everybody's involved already at this point. Again, nobody says anything, right? And then they get him into the hospital. He's there, and Margot comes and is walking to find the room that he's in. And Dudley is there, and she's like, "Where is he?" And he's just like, "Who?" And I was like, "What?" Nobody says a word, and I was like, "This is crazy. This is a little impactful." And then the first thing that said is that, and I was just like, "Okay."
It's a joke, but it's like not written that way. It's just like the character is just so dumbfounded about like reality, right? Like it's just, I think it was just fun. Like, I don't know, like. There's a lot of debate and discussion around, like, especially for stand-up comics, where like, what can you joke about? Like, what can you make jokes about? Can you make jokes about like really hard issues like suicide and rape and racism and stuff? And it's like, if it's funny, you can, you know, like, and it's like something of a coping mechanism for society where like this is how we deal with these things, is to be able to learn how to laugh at them.
Right.
You know, and like that's like really what I loved about this. Like they brought up these big issues and they were just like, let's just laugh at it. You know?
Yeah, it's hard to like parallel to stand up because I don't think that it's the stand up type of comedy, but it is comedic. It's just weird.
Oh yeah, but it's like, can you deliver it in a way that isn't
offensive or something?
Isn't completely insensitive, but it touches on the issue and it makes you laugh.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
That's makes you look at the brighter side.
Yeah.
Which is a touchy area for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've touched on most of the characters, I think.
What about Margot? Did we talk about her that much? It was interesting seeing Gwyneth Paltrow like this. Because usually you just hear about her weirdness outside of movies. But like, I totally forgot that she was her. Like, she did a really good fucking job in this movie, I thought. Like, melting into the character, right? I don't know.
I couldn't stop thinking about her just being Gwyneth Paltrow the whole fucking time, dude.
Really?
Okay,
At first,
I don't
that's
know
how
what
it
it
was,
is.
and it went away from me.
What is
Gwyneth Paltrow is like so fucking weird, but like she's also as weird as she is talented. Like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know. She just fits in roles that she works with. Like in Iron Man, you know, like as Pepper, like you're just like, this works. Like this just straight up works.
Mhm.
Sure,
And it's like,
yeah.
I don't know why, but it does.
For me, it's like, and this is not like a common thing for me, but I just could not get over it. The fact that she's just who she is. And it really put a damper on this for me.
Oh,
and like
man.
it's probably gonna dock points in the end. And I don't know
Well,
why. I'm like, why am I so against
Was
this?
she that 19 years ago, though? You know, like, to
I
be
mean,
fair.
I don't know. Yeah, to be fair, I don't know.
What's her deal in real life? She sells like butthole cream or something like that.
Exactly.
No, really. Like, what's the real thing?
Do we want to talk about that? Okay.
Oh no, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't give her any more clicks or.
No. Let's go into it. It's nothing bad. Like she's very inclusive.
Nothing
And
bad.
so
She sells like ghosts in jars and shit like that.
It's ghosts in jars. Ghosts in the jar, not ghosts in the shell.
what is the
Yeah.
website? Goop.com? Is that what it is?
Literally goop.com.
Goop.com. So she and funnily enough, I went to this website earlier today because I was like, I need to know about the weirdness of Gwyneth Paltrow because I forget. She sells, like, she has been known to sell very eccentric items. I think at one point she sold a scented candle that was supposed to be scented as her own vagina.
Oh, nice.
She
Fish fillet.
sells sex toys.
Oh, no.
She has. I was just again. I was on it earlier today, and I was just reading through, and it was just like, this is the clitoris, and like this is like, and it like talks a lot about just like, you know, sex, like just, you know, sex and like and pleasure and all of this, you know. But also she has products for children, like creams and all this.
For
Can you sell those
children.
same things on the same store, dude? Doesn't that
Yes,
feel
they-
weird? God damn.
But it's just and like a part of me wants to be like, yeah, like let's just like stop the stigma of having, you know, this weird taboo on like sexual health, you know, which is like, for that I applaud her. It's just like, let's talk about like sexual health and like especially about like female sexual health and also still be like be able to kind of go into other, you know, things about children. Like it's just like, it's normal. Let's normalize it.
Sure.
But
For
without
me-
putting eggs in your vagina, right?
Well,
that's-
that's a thing too, but
But it's a lot of pseudoscience shit. It's not. There's not a lot of
Exactly, dude.
and
That's the
it's
thing for me.
pseudoscience, and it's also her coming from a position of authority. I don't know if you want to say that, but of influence.
Yes, influence.
That's where it becomes problematic, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't really.
I don't think the
care.
message. I don't think there's like
Like-
malice. I don't think there's malice behind her message though.
Sure,
You know?
sure.
I'm for it. Goop.com. Go visit it. Like,
See,
we're not
and
getting
I
paid
don't.
for it, but
For me, it's not about the like.
Hashtag
You know,
not a
let's remove
sponsor.
the stigma and shit like that. I don't give a fuck about that. Don't sell fucking ghosts in a jar. Don't sell advice from a ghost. Don't sell like fake supplement products.
there's
that
there's
shit is
woo-woo
bullshit.
shit for sure. There's
If
woo-woo
you want to
shit.
sell a fucking candle that smells like a vagina, then do it. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
But the other shit is the shit that's really a
All right,
trigger,
all right.
yeah.
So we're done talking about Gwyneth Paltrow and how much she sucks as a human, but let's talk about
Whoa,
how much she
okay.
sucks as
Adrian's
a
a fan, dude. What are you
character.
talking about?
I
She sucks
I'm
as a
the re-
character?
Yeah, how much she
Oh.
sucks as a character. I just feel like
Interesting.
okay, this movie like reminds me of those girls in high school. That she's literally those girls in high school, dude, that fucking put the black eyeliner around their eyes and they think they're like all edgy and mysterious and they smoke cigarettes in the bathroom, dude. And they fucking listen to that music that Wes Anderson keeps putting on and all the music. Sorry, Alonzo. I don't know. I feel like you're really digging the music. But this fucking movie reminds me of those girls in high school. They fucking are probably like all into Wes Anderson shit. They're like this aesthetics and it's so weird and quirky and I'm so random and my fucking eyeliner's black and I'm just like, this shit is fucking stupid.
All right, James. First of all,
Now
put the
I'm
gun
getting
down.
into it. Okay, let's go. Just kidding. But like that's like the watching this whole movie now I'm like finally getting where I'm understanding where I'm coming from. This shit reminds me of high school, dude. It reminds me of those like trying to be quirky different girls that fucking wear black eyeliner, and it just like it just doesn't do anything for me. It just really doesn't. I don't know.
Maybe like did those girls have like deep-rooted daddy issues, right? Like you know, like,
and maybe yeah. But you know, there's those ones that really fake it. Like they're like, oh, my life is so weird, and I'm like have to listen to fucking My Chemical Romance and shit. You know, like I'm like, and they probably live in a house that has both parents very present, and like she has food every night, and like her whole family fucking loves her. But no, she just wants to be fucking quirky and fucking, you know, I don't know. That's how I felt about. So that's how I felt about her character. Anyway,
I had some sympathy. I mean, yeah. she is, you know, she's brought into this family,
and she won the lottery, dude. She got adopted. Imagine being adopted by Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie from Africa, being a little African child from, and getting adopted by freaking millionaires. Dude, you just won the lottery.
But also never being good enough.
Okay, like, okay, I don't know.
Like, and it brings us back to like the affluent issues that you have, where it's just like, yeah, like maybe she won the lottery in that regard, but like at a certain point, like money's not going to buy you happiness.
Yeah, and that's
you realize that your parents, you know, like none of us can relate to this because we don't have filthy fucking rich parents.
Yeah.
But but I had present parents. Like my parents were there for me and they supported me.
Yeah.
And like if I
your dad didn't call you adopted every chance he could fucking get, I guess.
You know, like, and even be okay with his own son lusting for you, you know, like
yeah.
So like you know, I sympathize with Margot and like just how weird she was, you know, and like why she went through all these stages.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I get where you're coming from though. Like she's fucking eccentric and weird.
But that's every character in the movie.
Yeah, I feel like she fits the world, right? I don't know. Like within the weird Wes Anderson world, it makes sense, and I like how they did it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like she's exactly what James is describing as the parallel to like these high school girls that did this shit, but like who went through the real shit and was like had that whimsical spin, right? But it's literally that, and I totally see that. But I do wonder, like in 2001, was that? I know we didn't get to high school till 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So 2001.
My Chemical Romance is not. I don't know.
Well, but still, the same concept of those kinds of people, I'm sure exist in some way.
Yeah.
Angsty emo white girls.
Yeah, I don't know.
But still, dude, that I can't. It was very hard to get over the Gwyneth Paltrow thing. I've decided that I'm not going to hold it against the movie as a whole, but it was hard for me to get out of that.
I don't know, man. I thought she did great, and I don't know. I don't hate Gwyneth Paltrow as a person. Like, I guess I haven't seen the products of like her selling ghosts in a jar and stuff. But
it's my ghost in a jar.
Yeah. I don't know. She's weird. Like, and it's okay to be weird, but
sure.
And her character's weird. Like Margot's weird too, right? But what character in this movie isn't? Like that's a common theme of just like all of these characters are so eccentric and so over the top and exaggerated.
Yeah, that's why I kept going back to Royal, because I was like, this is the only motherfucker I can probably relate to on some level. Like he has a real problem. I mean, he's got.
No, he doesn't.
Well, no, the problem that he's disconnected to his family.
I mean, it's his fault, but it's still a problem.
Exactly.
It's a problem he created for himself, and like we're supposed to feel bad for him because of it. And he fakes an illness.
But just like his whole going about it, and just like his nonchalantness, like he's like, who wants to go grab burgers and go down to the cemetery or some shit like that? And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot there's another body buried around here. Like I think it was Chaz's wife. It's like, it's so fucking
wife. Like dude. And the best thing is like when they're at their grandmother's funeral or gravesite. And like he picks up a few flowers from her gravesite, and he's like, "Oh right, Rachel's here. Like here, take these." You know, like, like God damn, you fucking asshole! Like, And
sure.
Chaz just grabs him and walks out.
But it's still like, I don't know. It was more real. Than,
No, yeah, and I do love Royal's character for sure. Just the realness that he brought to this crazy eccentric family where you're almost like, can I blame him for being such an absent father? Because like he's a fucking weirdo. It's like
all kinds of prodigies and shit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man, but it's it's also his own doing.
Yeah.
Boy.
You want to talk about, I guess, like that one scene, the tennis, his last tennis match or whatever the fuck.
Oh god.
That shit cracked me up, dude.
Richie.
Hilarious. He has a mental
Yeah,
break.
Richie.
Yeah.
Richie has a mental breakdown because he's watching the love of his life, which is his stepsister Margot, married to her new husband Raleigh, or how do you say his name?
Rayleigh?
Bill
Rayleigh?
Some G's and H's. I don't know.
St. Clair. Yeah,
Raleigh?
absolutely hilarious. Raleigh.
One of the commentators, I guess, is actually Wes Anderson. I thought that was cool.
Right. The other one is the Wilson's brother. Oh, God, I
There's
don't know
another
who-
Wilson brother. Jesus.
Yeah.
There's another Wilson.
So
Was it?
actually when Royal shoots Chaz in the hand with the BB gun,
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Owen Wilson actually shot his older brother in the hand with the BB gun. And remember when you see him show it to the camera, that's an actual BB in his hand, in his older
In the
brother's
guy.
hands.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. That's
Yeah, and it's
Nah,
funny because I was just like,
Yeah.
how did they really CG that?
No,
But no,
that's real.
Andrew, what is it? Andrew Wilson? Is that his name?
I think
Pretty
so.
Andrew Wilson's hand that they use. I was like,
Mhm.
wow, that is
That's awesome.
interesting.
Yeah.
One fun little fact that I want to bring up is the Falcon, Mordecai. So in the beginning of the film, Richie is like really involved with this Falcon, and then he sets him free, and it's like this big deal. And then later in the film, towards the end, the Falcon comes back, but the Falcon has all the white feathers. So they play it off like, oh, like this Falcon came back to us, Mordecai came back to us, and he has white feathers, and sometimes humans get white hair because they're stressed, and maybe that's what happened to Mordecai. No, Mordecai, the Falcon, was kidnapped and held for ransom during filming. And they literally didn't pay the ransom and had to get a new Falcon. And that's why it has white feathers. And
How
like,
would you know that the Falcon is in a movie?
What the fuck?
I don't know. Who the fuck kidnaps Falcon? We need Ace Ventura on this.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah. What the fuck?
That's
Yeah.
the
That
best
is
way to play
weird.
that off. I would never think that there was a
Right,
reason
they just-
beyond the movie.
Wrote it in like, oh, he's
Yeah.
got white feathers.
He's trapped.
Yeah,
Oh
who the
my
fuck? I wonder how much ransom they held up Mordecai for.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's interesting. $2001. I'm thinking get some money for a Falcon, for a trained Falcon.
God. Oh my
We should do
goodness.
Unsolved Mysteries of the Fumblers.
Oh shit.
That'd be a good one.
Oh man.
Find this motherfucker.
I wonder if they ever got Mordecai back, or if they got like a Talon in the mail. Or
Like, what if
something.
they don't
Oh my
pay it? You're just
god,
like, what do you-
no.
They don't pay it. You're like, what do I do with this fucking Falcon?
What do I do with a actor Falcon, like a
Yeah.
professionally trained Falcon?
Fucking still more Falcons.
I guess, yeah. Or take down drones now because they
Oh
can do
Jesus
that.
Christ! Yeah.
It's a good party trick.
Yeah. Mordecai is such a cool name for a Falcon too.
Oh yeah.
All right. Do we need to wrap this movie up? But what really, who wants to take us into like how this movie really comes to a conclusion and where we are with this? Nobody. All right. Yeah. So we
So
have
actually, I can take
talk
it a little
about-
bit, right?
Okay, go ahead.
So you're
go
talking
ahead.
about the conclusion of the whole thing. I'm like,
The wedding.
the same as like The Godfather. I was like, what was like the quote unquote point of like this lesson of the story, right? There kind of isn't really one. Maybe besides like family is important or whatever the fuck. Like it felt
Right.
similar to The Godfather in that respect, but like I don't think it matters. I guess I don't know. This is what I thought.
Yeah, and,
When
and so
it-
like to kind of wrap the film up, you know, the big ending wedding scene where we have Henry Sherman and Ethelene gonna get married. They're gonna get married, and fucking Eli Cash just crashes in this drug-induced rage and kills poor, what's his name? What's the little dog's name? Buckley?
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Buckley. Kills poor Buckley, but Royal, is it Royal that saves Uzi and Ari?
Hmm.
Yeah. And so which also is again so hilarious, and I think like that's why I love these characters so much, because the firefighters show up and there's a Dalmatian, and like Gene Hackman's just like, oh, like, is that a real Dalmatian? Like, do you have the papers for him? Is it a full blood? And you find out he buys the Dalmatian for Ari and Uzi like 30 seconds after their dog just died. Like, it's so perfect. Just like, oh, I got you a new dog. Which is like fucking, these characters are all fucking crazy. Like, all of them are fucking insane.
And Chaz was like, "You did this for the kids?
Mhm.
Oh, all right, cool." You know, like just
Yeah.
like so on
There's
board.
redemption in his eyes.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of goes back to what Chan's saying, like maybe there's not a lesson to be learned here so much as like the ending wraps up each character's like flaw or whatever, the thing that they're battling against. I
Coming
don't
to
know
terms
if we
with
said
it.
for everyone. I mean, I think it's hard to say. Certainly not for Luke Wilson's character, right? Which is an interesting thing where they're laying in the back of that like Zen garden.
Yeah, I like that.
Chaz just like lays there with him. He's just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna lay here. Like that was the first time you see him just chill the fuck out. It adds, you know, it kind of adds to all of those. Like, it just ties a little bow on each character's problem, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't
Right.
really know that there's a lesson.
Then he goes up to his dad. He's like, I had a bad year. He's just like, I know,
Yeah.
son.
Yeah. And I feel like also like how oblivious they are to like their problems. And you know, they're just living through it, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is: facing your problems and moving on.
Yeah. Or just not having the wit to understand where your weaknesses are and what your problems are. Yeah, so Ethelyn and Sherman get married. What is it, 2 days after that, and kind of just wraps up that we have the funeral for Royal, which is I think the first time that it actually dates the movie, where you see his tombstone and his epitaph. He died in 2001, which was when the movie was released. Because a lot of the like, you know, the themes in the movie are very like 70s, like they're very old, and that was like the first time we were like, oh, like we know what year we're in. You know, 2001 now. Don't necessarily know how much time has passed since then, but yeah, like, and I think, you know, seeing all the family there and, you know, mourning their father, I don't know, it was just like, it was a warm, happy ending. Like, even though it was like it ended at a funeral, but
Yeah, it's like
it wrapped it up nicely.
Royal did what he wanted to do and like reconnected with everyone and like succeeded and shit.
In his own weird, like, fucking exotic way, right? Like, he's
Yeah.
still got to have something of a relationship with his grandchildren, have something of redemption with his actual children, and have something of an acceptance of his future, or his ex-wife remarrying. Like, it did a good job at closing all those ties.
Yeah.
So,
And the title, right? The Royal Tenenbaums is like, there's little pieces of him in all of the other characters, you know,
Right.
little bits of his flaws and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
seeing all of that kind of resolve, and then in turn him, all of his shit kind of resolving, you know, because of that. I thought it was good. I mean, it made me feel something at the end. I don't know really what. Like, I was like a tad emotional, but I wasn't really sure why. I was just like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, it was good. But yeah, I mean, a solid ending, I think.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering, because you know he says like, "Oh, I'll be dead within a couple weeks," or whatever the fuck he
6
says at the
weeks.
beginning.
Yeah.
I wonder how much time passes in the movie if that was actually true and he just didn't know, or what the fuck. I don't
I
know.
feel like it was quite a bit longer, but
Was
I
it?
mean,
I don't know.
yeah, who
I
knows?
wasn't really paying attention to that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. the thing that's written on his tombstone is pretty good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the epitaph?
Yeah, he mentions that, right? He's like, make sure and write whatever I have.
Yeah, proofread the epitaph.
It's like he died someone trying to save his family from a sinking ship, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that what he says? I thought it was like wrestling a bear or some stupid shit.
Something ridiculous.
No, I think it's what Jay said. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is like not entirely, false. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened.
family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that for sure.
All right. Any other rounding thoughts that we want to get out before we jump right into the reviews, and actually right into the can you fumble with this?
Do you want to just put them all together? Both that review and our own reviews?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, let's
We could
just
do that. I'm
let's just
cool with that.
flow it in.
Okay.
Who went first last time? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Who's ready?
I think I
Anyone
went
ready?
first last time, so somebody else.
I can go
I'll do it.
first. Oh,
Okay, James will
Oh,
do it.
okay.
I'll do it.
James.
Okay.
James.
Okay, so the question begs, can you drink? Can you fumble while watching this movie? And I say that might be the only way to get through this movie.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I didn't. I'm not hating on this movie that bad. Yeah, you can. I think this is a fun movie to drink to. Yeah, I think you can get some extra laughs being a little tipsy with that stuff. But so I say yes. But anyways, let's get right into what I think about this movie. I think you guys kind of understand my grievances with the movie. I think some of the jokes and the dialogue, like it's just like it's so much. Like I think I really could have benefited from a second viewing. I think I actually would have liked this movie a lot more if I saw it twice, but I think the stuff that you guys brought here today definitely bumped my score up, I think. But I don't know, you guys kind of see where I'm coming from with, like, I just feel like this movie's just like, it's just like a look at me. I'm so funny and so quirky, and everybody here is so, oh wow, just, you know what I mean? And it just like, it just doesn't sit right with me. And I think like it almost reminds me of Marriage Story. Remember when I kind of said I didn't really like Marriage Story because I guess I just hate rich people. I don't know. And their problems. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm just like, and not that I have to resonate with every character all the time in every movie that I watch, but for some reason, I'm just like, I can't care that, like, these people, like, are struggling. Like, I don't know why. It was just, like, so hard for me to, like, really care. And so, like, I don't know. It kind of, like, detached me from it a little bit, like kind of took me out. But I think I'm gonna like rewatch this because something about like this movie, like I actually dove into some other podcasts and I listened to that Wes Anderson interview, and I was just like, I don't get it. I'm like, maybe I'm just too dumb. Like maybe I'm just too stupid. I'm like, I don't see like the big picture of it. But I think with that being said, it's like a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
All right.
I respect it. All right, so 7 out of 10 from James. Let's take it right over to Taryn, so he's ready.
So yeah, I don't know. I really like all the Wes Anderson movies I've seen so far, and like going into this one, I was like already prepared. I'm like, I'm gonna get some weird ass dialogue and really weird characters and all this shit, and I was like so in, like I was like ready for that shit to just wash over me, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like all the characters, I liked basically all of them. Like all the actors are awesome, obviously. Like it's not my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but it's not my least favorite one. It's just in the middle, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's not much else to say that we haven't already said, so I guess I'll rate it at an 8.0.
Wow.
All right. So an 8 coming out from Taryn. I'll go ahead and take the floor next since Jay went first last time.
Sure.
Yeah, I think this movie was really fun to watch. I mean, I have kind of an interesting perspective because I had not seen any Wes Anderson films before this. So I did, and again, I didn't watch the trailer. I had no prior knowledge of like what I was expecting going into this. And again, like even just the title, right? Like the Royal Tenenbaums. I was like, okay, this movie is maybe going to be something with royalty. There's going to be some kind of thing. And it really wasn't. And like after having this conversation, I think Jay brought this up a little bit, is like the reason, you know, I feel the reason it's called the Royal Tenenbaums is like it is the Royal Tenenbaums children, like Royal's children, and like how he has influenced, like his who he is has influenced his children and kind of the journey they go through.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like they bring up these like really deep dark issues about like divorce and suicide, but they shed tasteful light on them, I think was just fun. And that like really did it for me. And the characters not necessarily knowing why they're funny, but they're hilarious, and their affluent problems for me worked. You know, it was shedding light on just like even rich people have stupid fucking problems, right? Like the Kardashians, whoever the fuck, like it's still, you know, there's still going to be issues there. And I kind of feel the same thing about you, James, when I was watching it. And like when I was watching the first half and I was like, okay, Wes Anderson's a big deal. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, am I too dumb? Am I too dumb to like understand why this is good?
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of this film, is just like, you don't have to get it. Like just watch it. Just enjoy it. Like just enjoy how silly these characters are and how like, you know, ridiculous everything is. And I won't really get into all of the cinematography and all of the shots and stuff.
Yeah, which is always great.
Yeah. I would need to do, and then also I would need to do a couple of more watches to really understand all of that. But for me, I really like this movie. It was fun to watch. So this movie is also a nice solid 8 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
So let's take it over to Jay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's my third Wes Anderson movie, maybe fourth. Yeah, fourth actually. Not my favorite of the ones I've seen. I'll agree with Taryn there. It's middle of the road for sure, but it doesn't mean I didn't like it. Like I did like this as a movie. I thought, you know, taking the story for what it is, for what it's trying to be, for the things that are like a super apparent, like the novel-esque flow. I really like that stuff. I like title cards. I like all those kind of quote unquote older techniques being used and stuff today. I like his style. I mean, I like his other stuff, and I know that we're trying again not to compare to the other stuff, but it's hard not to. I mean, it's all very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it's all like amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I mean, I liked the story overall. I liked the way that it wrapped things up. There wasn't a lot that I didn't like besides going with Paltrow, but outside of that, like I still, I think I'm able to give it like a 7.8 and feel good about that.
Okay.
7.8. All right, so 7.8 coming up from Jay. That brings us to a collective 7.7, which, you know, that's a respectable score. It's far off from the Fumblerverse, or the Fumbler Hall of Fame, but yeah, I think for my first Wes Anderson film, I was satisfied, and it left me wanting more. Like I'm going to definitely watch more.
Yeah,
that's good. I think you'll like the other ones more anyway.
Yeah, good, perfect. Yeah. So that pretty much does it for us. Does anyone else have any last things they want to get in?
No.
Shout out to those title cards, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Be sure you are following us on all of our socials. You can find all of those at filmfumblers.com. Follow us there. You can find what movie we're going to be doing the following week. This coming week, we are doing Spinal Tap, is it?
Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Spinal Tap, yeah. So tune in for that movie. Yeah. Anything else I'm missing? I think that's...
Check us out on anywhere you can find podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. About to sneeze. Wow.
Twitter, Instagram. We have a Facebook page. all over the place. Yeah, again, filmfumblers.com. Be sure to rate us and share this episode with a friend if you think they might enjoy it. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Have a great rest of your night. Cheers.
Peace.
Bye.